Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. And as always, I've got my good buddy Hans from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel with me. My name is Jason. I'm the owner of Outdoor Legacy. And we've got another great show for you today. This is the Late Night Vision Show. You can find us at thelatenightvisionshow.com, but we are going to jump right into it. We have got Mr. Byron South from Convergent Hunting here again for a second interview. It is a full one. It is jam-packed with great information. So without further ado, let's jump right into that interview.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. We are lucky enough, I'll tell you what, to have Mr. Byron South on for a second time. And he is lucky enough, I guess, to be able to talk to us. I don't know, a lot of people don't say that, but I hope he feels that way. But Mr. Byron South, how are you doing again? Thank you for being back on the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be back, and I appreciate y'all having me back, and I love the show.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank you, Byron. Hey, everybody, this is Jason again. What I want to do real quick before we jump back in is I want to formally introduce Byron. And again, I know that listeners of the podcast probably heard our original episode with him, but I want to give this bio for just the two people in Bangor, Maine, who don't know who Byron South is. There's everybody else knows, but
you pulled that out of your, you know what?
I want to give a quick rundown on just a few of the accomplishments, and it really shows who Byron is and why he is an expert, and why we want to have him on this show and gain all the knowledge that we can from him. So listen in here. Byron is one of the most respected figures in the predator and coyote hunting, field. His experience has spanned over 40 years in almost 40 states, Canada, and Africa. He has called in and filmed coyotes, bobcats, fox, hogs, bears, wolves in Alaska, alligators. He's hunted all over Africa and killed, and called in lions, leopards, hyena, jackal. If they've got ears, he's called them in, and he's done it all over. But he used to produce a video series called Coming to the Calls back in 2000, and this was a really great series. They were all over. Every hunting store had them. You can probably still find them around, and I bet Byron's got some of them tucked away. And they've got some incredible footage of coyotes and bobcats being called in and killed, and they were not only entertainment, they were very educational, and people really, really enjoyed those. Another fact about Byron that a lot of people may not know is that he gained the very first professional endorsement agreement that Remington Arms ever offered in the company's 200-year history. And they did something for Byron that I'm pretty sure they're not going to do for Hans or I. And that is that they named a rifle after him. They had the Byron South Signature Edition that Byron helped design, and that is something that nobody has ever asked me about, but I'm waiting on the phone call.
Well, maybe I'll get a Red Ryder BB gun.
Maybe if you're, I doubt it though. But Byron is a longtime member of the Realtree Pro staff, and he is currently very well known for being the co-owner and CEO of Convergent Hunting Solutions. And Convergent is best known for making the Bullet HP and Sidewinder electronic calls, and they've got calls for not just coyotes and predators, but also for hogs. They've got a whole app dedicated to that. And the great thing about Byron and about Convergent is that they are based right here in East Texas, Big Sandy. So we have got us an East Texas boy on the show.
And I've got my East Texan T-shirt on right now if you're watching on YouTube. So it's a very proud moment. So first of all, I want to invite all the listeners and viewers out there, go check out our first episode with Mr. Byron South on just the basics of predator calling. You can go check that out. You can find it on the latenightvisitshow.com. You can always find it on YouTube or on any of the podcast sharing apps that we've already put out. But go check that out as well. But we're going to get into advanced predator hunting tactic. This is not the basic. This is the advanced class. This is for all you that have graduated from the basics. But I want to start it out before we get to that, because one of the biggest questions that we got coming out of the first episode with you, Mr. Byron South, is what is your favorite predator hunting rifle and caliber?
Hang on a second. If he says anything but the Byron South Signature Edition Remington rifle, I'm going to be disappointed.
I'm sure he probably loses his endorsement.
I was honored in Remington. Back in the day, this is kind of dating me. Back in the day, I was one of the first guys that used AR-15s. A lot of people don't remember this, but when I was using AR-15 hunting, I was the devil. They were black guns. Everybody else was like, man, are you crazy doing that? And so, I was going to the SHOT Show and all these places, and I came kicking and screaming to an AR. I'm still a bolt gun guy. I love bolt guns, but an AR-15 platform is such an accurate, reliable. I call it the Mr. Potato Head of guns. You can build it and make it any way you want it. And so that today, finally Remington, actually Bushmaster, I was just pounding them, trying to get them to, everything was really heavy, was more geared to the tactical guys. And so the hunters were just scared to death out of them. So I thought, man, if we could put some camouflage on this thing and clean it up a little bit where these hunters weren't scared of it and it didn't look like it was going to jump out of the closet and kill a bunch of people, we might have something, So this was back when nobody wanted to hear me saying that. And but I had quick story, man. I guided a son and his son, and called in a bobcat, and actually called in. I had a cat coming, and then two coyotes came running into the call as I was calling and treed the bobcat. Well, the kid never saw the bobcat. He shot at the two coyotes and had them kind of spinning around there, and I was trying to get them to shoot that cat. And I run my bolt gun dry trying to shoot that cat as he was trying to go from tree to tree, breaking limbs and stuff. And I had 4 rounds in my gun. I wasn't a designated shooter. I was the guide, but I hated to let anything go. And when I left there, I said, I'm going to get me something that that has more firepower and stuff. So I went to a local pawn shop. The guy handed me an AR-15, and I didn't even know where to touch it at. It was just an evil-looking gun. And so, but he told me to take it, so I took it, kind of messed with it, and found out that, hey, man, this thing's for real. It's very accurate. I get multiples coming in all the time, so it's a perfect platform to build a Predator rifle. But they were all big, clunky, heavy, So. The question you asked me is what I shoot. Remington, was really honored with that deal. Since that time, that's kind of run its course. I'm shooting a Christensen Arms now. It's the lightest rifle I've found. They're really good to work with. It's got a carbon fiber barrel and carbon float tube, so it's really light. I carry a gun every day, all day. People, I'm always hunting, doing something. So, and I like the old 223. I'm not shooting stuff at 500 yards. I'm in the calling game, so most everything I'm calling or shooting's pretty close, but a 223 is perfectly capable reaching out there 300-400 yards. I shoot a little. Do
you want to suggest a ammo brand and type that you're using?
You want to guess it, or you want me to tell you?
Oh,
I'm gonna say it's a lightweight round, so I'm gonna say Hornady. 50 grain bullet point hollow, boat tail hollow point.
Nope, it's a 60 grain VMAX, and I'll tell you why. I shooting tournaments, and y'all want to talk about kind of some advanced tactics and stuff like that. Shooting tournaments, or shooting stuff on TV or on film and stuff. You want it DRT. You want it good, clean. You don't want it spinning around and running off. So I shoot a little heavier bullet. Of course, here in East Texas, we're liable to run into some hogs. So I like that heavier bullet. And, there's a lot of difference between the 60 grain VMAX and the 55 grain. And I think it keeps it below a velocity threshold so it doesn't come apart. So it doesn't act like a typical VMAX where it's really violent way. It expands. It kind of stays together. And those coyotes, a lot of times when they're coming, they're kind of quartering to you, and I'll shoot them right on the point of the shoulder, just like you would a Cape buffalo or something, to break him down, because I don't want him leaving there, especially at night. You want him DRT. So I use a heavier bullet. And that 60 VMAX, I've been through train loads of them. And I don't want to go into numbers or nothing, but I've killed a lot of stuff with them. But they shoot well in every gun I've ever. That's kind of my, go-to to test the accuracy potential of a rifle. Those 60 VMAX are accurate in everything I've shot them in, and I've killed train loads of hogs with them as well. So I like the heavier bullet in case I get into something a little heavier. But the coyote's bones are not, tough, but those lighter bullets sometimes will splash and not get to the goodie. So, the 60 VMAX is not violent either, so you don't have a lot of bad fur damage either. So,
that's what I was just fixing to ask. I know a lot of my customers, a lot of these guys up north they're in this for the money.
Sure.
I mean, they're killing boatloads of predators and they're selling these hides and furs. And I'm just shocked as an East Texas boy. Ours aren't worth much, but up there they bring some money.
Sure.
Do you think, is that the same kind of a round and a caliber that you would use if you were doing this?
Yeah, and I hunted with a lot of guys, like you said in the intro. Mm-hmm. I've hunted a lot of different states where furs are. I mean, you guys know here in East Texas, you can't run fast enough to give somebody a coyote hide here, but up there, they're, $100. Some of these cats are $500, $600, $700, $800 for a cat. So you certainly don't want to, mess up $800 cat hide. And so a lot of these guys are of the false assumption that that lighter grain bullet doesn't have an exit wound. But what happens is a lot of times is that velocity, that extra velocity can create a splash wound on the near side of the animal. It'll create a lot of sewing. And I think my theory is with the 60s, it keeps it below that threshold where that bullet is not as violent. And I tell you, we shoot a lot of cats here, and sometimes it's hard to even find a bullet hole. It looks like they just died of a heart attack. And, of course, we take pictures and film everything, so we don't want, even though they're worth $2, we don't want big holes in them either because it makes horrible pictures. Right. So, but the 60, for your fur guys, and for a caller, you don't need a gun that's going to shoot, 500 yards like a laser beam either. So, but you want something that's going to anchor that animal because, especially hunting at night or in the thicker stuff, you want him, dead close. I mean, I tell people all the time. If you have to shoot him 4 or 5 times to kill him, I mean, how much fur damage is there? I'd rather shoot him one time, and I'm a firm believer in having enough gun. Mm-hmm.
So, well, Byron, let me ask this: we're talking about these guys that are doing this for, money, and they got to kill a lot of them, and so I think this kind of segues into some of the advanced stuff where, unlike Hans and I, where we're just East Texas boys and we're going to go out there and kill some coyotes. And, if we can go kill 1 or 2, 3 in a night, it's a great night and we're happy to do it. And again, like you said, nobody wants the hides, but there's guys I know even here in East Texas in the South that are in tournaments and they need to kill high volume in a short amount of time. Or obviously if you're doing it for the money, it's the more the merrier. So why don't you kind of give us some ideas of what you would do differently? Again, we're assuming that everybody's gone and listened to the first episode and got the basics down. But a guy who says, I'm getting in this, I need to kill high numbers in shorter periods of time, what would you do differently there?
Well, tournaments are a huge deal now, and a lot of these are paying quite a bit of money. So it's all about numbers, like a bass tournament. I mean, you've got to get the numbers. And you're competing against, it's so competitive now. You've got some guys that are serious. I mean, very competitive. And to be able to compete in that arena, you can't be sitting, an hour and a half at a stand. So as far as advanced tactics, I mean, we talked about on the other segment, 15-minute stands. When I'm hunting a tournament, what I do is I'm really paying attention to the wind and I'm Google Earthing everything, and I've got everything laid out to where I can be the most efficient. I'm trying to get 15 or 20 stands put together with the sun, the moon, everything in the right place where I can get in and out of there as quick as I can. And I'll set 10-minute stands. And I usually hold true to that. 10 minutes and I'm gone. And because I know my highest likelihood of calling on predators within that first 5 to 10 minutes, and after that my odds are going to go down. So I'm going to stay 10 minutes, and I'm moving. And we talked about picking up those extra numbers. A lot of times, if I kill one in the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm gonna still stay the 10 minutes because I'm assuming there's a second or third coyote there pretty close. But after 10 minutes, I'm moving. I'm gone. And we stick to that. My guys I got a couple of friends of mine that are just as serious with it as I am, and we like to win those tournaments. I mean, you pay an entry fee, you want to win some money, so we hold true to it. 10 minutes, we're gone. And so that's a completely different tactic. I do a lot of ADC work or animal damage control jobs where I'll have a specific coyote that's causing a problem, or a fox or a cat or whatever. And so you'll use a completely different tactic on that coyote. I do some high fence stuff, and these guys, the coyotes inside those high fence are very persecuted coyotes. I mean, you've got some exotic animals. One guy I do some work for down in the hill country has super exotics. He's got, all the African stuff, some stuff I can't even spell or pronounce in there. And so coyotes can cause him a lot of problems. And these guys are trying to kill those coyotes 24/7. They're trapping, they're doing everything in the world. So when I get the call, it's usually after one that's pretty sharp and savvy. So I'll have to use a little different tactic on him. And I'll go and try to figure out where would I be if I was a coyote. You get down, that's really scientific. You kind of go in there because you usually have one shot at that coyote, and I'll go in and try to play on his curiosity, and he's not going to come running in there like a pup will, or one of these coyotes on Grandpa's 40 acres that's never heard a call. He's going to be kind of shy, and so what I'll do a lot of times on those coyotes is I go in and I make sure my setup is perfect, and then I'll call with the assumption he's probably not going to show up in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but then I won't leave. I may sit there for an hour, and I may play something different, something off the wall, but I'll try to play on his curiosity, but I'll sit there knowing that sooner or later he can't take it no more, and he's going to try to get downwind of me and figure out. He's not going to come running in there. He's going to go to that downwind side and try to size me up, figure out what that is, and I'm going to be ready waiting for him. It's kind of like shooting or hunting a big mature buck. You have to have a little bit more advanced tactic to be able to kill that coyote. So there's two ends of the spectrum. I mean, I may set 2 or 3 hours on a stand trying to kill a problem coyote, where I'm not going to set 10 minutes if I'm trying to win a tournament. Mm-hmm. So
let me ask you this, Byron. One of the biggest issues that we have when me and my buddies go out, we get set up in the right position. We've got the wind in our favor, the moon's at our back because we do all night hunting. We've got everything perfect. We can get a coyote to come in, but a lot of times they're circling around so they can can wind us. So it's constant. They're circling us. How can you avoid that, or how can you put yourself in a better position where you're not? We can get them in, and then they always are circling around us to get better position on us.
At night, those coyotes, I tell people, jumping through hoops is a term I use in my seminars, used to all the time. You you don't want that coyote jumping through too many hoops to get to you. You want to give him a kind of an easy path, the path of least resistance to you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they'll take that, especially at night, because they feel more comfortable out in the open. Now, some of these coyotes are kind of leery. If they see or maybe heard you pull up there, they're going to try to get downwind and size you up. So, you have to kind of be paying attention to your downwind side. But a lot of times you can set up to where there's a road or something that he's not going to feel comfortable going through. And that's going back to the jumping through hoops. Put some hoops in front of him where it's a little more difficult for him to do that. And a lot of times he'll choose that easier path at night. And he'll feel more comfortable coming across those more open deals. And another thing I touched on in the first segment was constant calling. Never turn that call off. If you get one coming, you can kind of turn that call down a little bit, and they'll come on to it.
I wanted that led into one of my questions. I wasn't going to ask it next, but you got there, and it's about switching sounds. You talked about that a little bit, and I guess one thing that I know I never know what to do is I'm playing a sound, nothing's happening, and I know you said, hey, switch it up, but it's like, how long is that? Just, I mean, do I do that 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 10? I mean, I understand again, if it's a tournament, you're going to do it faster. You're going to try to get out of there. But,
Sure.
But what if I'm just set up and I'm going to hunt, 3 stands tonight? How long do I play those sounds before I just start throwing the whole tackle box at him?
I usually, as a rule of thumb, I'll play one for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm assuming if he's coming to that first sound I'm playing, he's usually going to be there in that length of time. So after about 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say is a good rule of thumb to think about.
Okay.
If you haven't seen anything at that point, you might as well put a spinnerbait on. You might put something put something else on.
Yeah.
And and then I'll use that. And here's something else. As far as an advanced tactic, a lot of times, we're playing the prey sound. So that's playing on that predatory instinct they have. But you can also play on a paternal instinct, and so a puppy sound or something, throw something different like that at them, or a kaya sound. Sometimes even if we haven't called in a coyote, we'll play a kaya sound. It kind of simulates maybe something got up there and got in trouble. A kaya is simply a coyote in distress. Sometimes I'll get a little bit more aggressive, and a lot of guys, well, especially out in the more open country, you hear a lot of these guys saying they use a lot of coyote vocals, and they'll start every stand with a howl. And coyotes in East Texas, the more tighter country, and not just, I wouldn't say East Texas, the eastern United States, they're not as receptive to a howl. I hate to say they're not as receptive to a howl. They will figure you out. They approach a call different coming to a coyote vocalization versus a prey distress sound. So and you have to kind of know the difference between an aggressive type howl and a passive type howl. An aggressive type howl would be like the threat bark howl or something like that, and a lone howl. We've all heard those cowboy movies where the coyote just whoa. That's a passive sound. Hi, how you doing? Where are you at? And then that's what I believe coyotes are saying is they're real territorial. They're trying to figure out, okay, I'm over here. Where are you at? So they howl and let everybody know I'm in my spot. Where are you? They want to check up with everybody. But you can kind of, if you know those boundaries that they've got established, kind of like a dog in a yard, I mean, everybody's cool as long as you're not in my yard. Now, you get in my yard and we're going to tear some stuff up. So
does that actually work against you, though? I mean, you run that howl and,
It does if you don't know where you're at. And that's where a lot of these guys in the more open country are successful with these howls because they're a little bit more forgiving on those boundaries because the coyotes are more visual. They can see. In the tighter country, the coyotes aren't as forgiving. For instance, I kind of used a neighborhood or as an example. Like, if you got several dogs in the neighborhood and everybody's cool as long as you're in your yard and I'm in my yard, but you take a Rottweiler that's new to the territory, that Chihuahua's not going to come out of the yard. He's going to bark at that Rottweiler and tell him it's fine. You go down the street, but you don't come up in my yard. And he'll raise Cain and howl back at, say it's 2 coyotes. He'll howl back and forth, but they're not going to leave their yard. So if you howl at a coyote that's in his territory, he's going to, and if you're not in his core part of his territory, he's going to go to his core territory. He's not coming to you. Now, change the scenario and say you happen to just mistakenly be in his core territory and howl. He's not going to abide by that. He's going to come try to run you off. And so it's location has a lot to do with it, and so that's, like I said, a more advanced tactic and some good intel. We all hear the coyotes howl in the evening, after dark. And so that's some of the best intel a coyote hunter can have because that coyote didn't get up and go over there and start howling. That's probably where he spent the day. Write that down. So that's his core territory. That's something he's going to put the effort in to defend.
Wow.
So if you can get close to that and then just start out with a passive howl like you just screwed up and you're over here and you're howling, having a good time, and he whoa, somebody's in my backyard. That coyote still, he may come in, it's like a litter of pups. Some of those pups are going to be aggressive, some are going to be a passive. So he may come bowling in there, bristled up, ready to fight, or he may, be a little more passive. He's going to kind of get downwind, size you up before he comes running in there. So I always start with, I say cast the widest net first, which is your rabbit sounds. Nobody's scared of the rabbit. It's a good loud sound that casts a long or wide net. and a lot of coyotes are receptive to it. So start with that. I always start with the prey sounds, and then as a more advanced tactic, will if I know the country good and feel like I'm in a coyote's territory or in his backyard or something that his core territory, I may step it up and get aggressive with him. But again, you got to play the wind right, because they can get in downwind of you and figure you out, and they go, hey. But I don't think coyotes connect the dots where they go, oh, that's Hans over there or Jason, and I figured it out. They're just going to wait on Jason to leave, and then they're going to go in there later and try to figure out what's going on, because I don't think they're smart enough to know, hey, that's the bullet over there. I heard that before.
Well, speaking of that speaks to this, and then you even made the comment of Grandpa's 40 acres, and then you talk about, hey, they know we're there, and they don't know that's the bullet. So this is something that I know I get this question all the time, and I know you do as well, and so I want you to speak to it here, and that is not everybody has access to 15 different places that are 500 acres apiece.
Sure.
They may literally have access to their 40 acres
Sure.
or their lease or whatever, and a lot of times I think if you're in the South, a lot of the wooded part of the South, and that moves up on into parts I know of the Midwest and the North. So what the reason I make that point is you may get on a 500 acre tract and there may only be 20 acres of open ground.
So it's country, right?
It's hard to get in there and hunt that. So what the question I'm trying to get to is, what does a guy do? How does he prevent over hunting his same spot? And I get it. I mean, it's no magic. You can't make 40 acres 1,000. But how does he prevent that? Should he limit the amount of time that he goes out there? If he goes out and shoots a coyote, or even if he just calls, nothing comes in, should he wait a week, 6 weeks? What do you do there?
Well, here's what I tell guys all the time, because I hunt a lot of small places, and I grew up doing that. And so if you can't ruin that spot, because then you've got an educated coyote on your grandpa's 40 acres, and you got problems. So you're going to have to get some steel out. You're going to have to get that coyote removed another way. He's probably not going to fall for this trick again and come to the call. So that goes back to my, the first segment where I said try to get everything you can in your favor before you go in there, because you've got one shot at trying to kill that coyote and not educate that coyote. So get in there. Don't call it if the conditions aren't right. The sun's, moon, everything's not lined up like you want to, where you've got everything in your favor. Just don't call it. It's hard not to do because you've worked all week and it's Saturday and you want to kill something. But don't ruin that spot. Now, flip that around. Everything's right Saturday morning. You go out there and you kill that coyote. Well, guess what? It's probably a good spot for a coyote. If he's dead, you can probably go back next Saturday, and do the same thing. It may be a month before another coyote comes in there, but as long as a coyote, you call him in and he doesn't have a bad experience and smell you or figure it out, or he's dead, you're good. You can always go back. But you can certainly overcall a spot if you're not doing it right. If you're going in there, just parking the truck, getting out, not checking the wind, and calling. I mean, they're just not going to keep coming to that call there. So, it's tough on a coyote hunter. If you want to be a coyote hunter, you're really going to have to, get some friends with some property or ask around. And I tell you, the first few times you ask a guy, is scared. It's hard to ask a guy, but most of the time, they're going to say okay, or they might know somebody or something, and some of the times they're going to say no, I don't want you hunting on my place, I don't know who you are. So you're just going to have to go through a few no's sometimes. But if you get a 40 acre piece of property and you do the guy good, he's going to say, hey man, I got some relatives. I mean, it'll end up, you'll have 400 and 4,000 and stuff like that. So it'll be a lot more fun if you've got enough places to keep them rotated than trying to call the deer lease every weekend.
So let me ask you this, Byron. So you West Texas, and this is people listen from all over the country. So we've got Midwest people on the East Coast, West Coast, and all that. But I'm going to hone this down to the Texas region. But you see guys out in West Texas when they're doing tournaments, they're shooting dozens of coyotes a night, and I know that has to do with land access and all that. Man, I'm going to tell you, East Texas, it just seems to be really tough to get on coyotes like that. Now,
it's tough. I've hunted some of the tournaments here in East Texas, and they're some of the toughest tournaments in the world. I mean, but there's guys here that are killing 15, 20 coyotes. So we hunted the Kearney tournament over here. It's usually the only tournament I hunt. I'm not against tournaments by any stretch of the imagination, but it seems to work out to wherever. A guy told me a long time ago when these tournaments started happening that, here's the deal, Byron. If you enter it and win it, you cheated. Well, if you don't win it, then you suck. Yeah. So you probably should not hunt them. But I think they're a good idea, and I think they do a lot for conservation as far as removing a lot of coyotes from properties and save a lot of deer. So I'm for the tournaments, but you got to have realistic expectations. You're not going to kill the numbers that those guys do out there just because of the situation. A coyote is we've got as many or more coyotes than they do out there.
Yeah.
Problem is, we've got 10 times more people than they do. So these coyotes are conditioned here completely different than they are, on a 15,000 acre piece of property that sees one guy feeding cows every day.
Well, let me ask you this. So, with the different regions, obviously East Texas being heavily wooded, hilly,
sure.
that type of thing. When you think of coyote hunting, you think of sitting out in a huge field, flat, trying to call from one side of the field to the other. What do you do much calling in thick woods? I've seen people do it. I can't say that I do it that much, but does your strategy change any there? You're not really dealing a lot with sometimes if you're covered moon and stuff like that.
At night I don't. I do some in the daytime coyotes, especially here in East Texas. Like I said, there's 10 times as many people. They don't want to expose themselves and get out in the open where they're vulnerable in the daytime. Some hillbilly will shoot them, but so they understand that they've got to stay in the woods or in some tight cover. So we've got right of ways, highline right of ways and stuff like that. Those are great places to call. But you hunt the edges, and you keep watching. A lot of times that coyote's not going to pop out, come balling out of the edge and just run right up to the call. He's going to come up and, like I mentioned earlier, checking up. He's going to get up to that edge of those woods and sit down and be looking. He's going to really size it up. And that's where that decoy, will benefit you. Once he checks up, he's looking.
Right.
If he sees something moving, a lot of times he'll come on out of that brush. But you really got to watch your downwind side on that on those hunting the woods. And again, kind of goes back to jumping through hoops. Try to put some obstacles there. Some really thick stuff that he don't want to go through, or a creek or a road. A home place. We call a lot of coyotes. Around home places and stuff. Those coyotes. But they're not going to go through somebody's backyard to come to you, but you can kind of use it as a barrier to kind of steer him to you. But we do call some, we call a lot in the daytime in the thicker stuff. And I've killed a ton with a shotgun. Matter of fact, my son, if we hunt in the daytime, that's all he want. He don't want a rifle. He shoots a shotgun exclusively. Wow. So well, that's his big deal.
Well, Byron, I know we're going to run out of time, but I've got a long list of questions, but I've got a couple here that I do. I keep writing down. If somebody's watching this, they're like, "What is he doing?" I'm writing questions, but I do have a couple that I know that I think you could speak to, and especially important for maybe it is the guys that are doing this for the fur. Or guys that are in tournaments, and do you have any specifics on how to call in a cat, say a bobcat, over a coyote? Meaning, when if you're in some of these tournaments, for people that don't know, it may be a tournament where you have to kill, or you get points for different, animals, and so you're trying to kill a lot of different animals, even all the way down to the coon. So you don't have to speak very much to it, but I'm just curious. Do you have any suggestion for calling in a coon enough to see his eyes?
We call a lot of cats. Cats are my favorite thing in the world to call. They're such a cool animal, but they approach a call. I'm using stereotypes here on the cats, but sometimes, like I said, we've had cats run in like a coyote, but typically what a cat will do, he's not going to just charge into a call like a coyote will. He's going to use the cover. He may get there fast. I've heard this all my life. It takes 30 minutes a lot of times to call in a cat. I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that theory at all. We kill a lot of cats under the 5-minute mark. What happens is a lot of those cats come for, pretty hot to a call, but they'll stop out there before you can see them and start stalking that call. So it might be 30 minutes. He may have been there 30 minutes before you saw him. And that's where electronic call really comes in handy, because he's not stalking you at that point. He's stalking that call. So if you can get that call offset, like if you think, cats like cover. So if you're sitting in the edge of the woods and got the call sitting out in the field, he may be coming up behind you, in the cover, looking out there at that call, and you may never see him. And so you've got to really, watch that cover. And if you set that call kind of offset where he's sneaking up on that call and not you, you'll see him trying to keep that tree between him and that call instead of that tree between you and him. And you'll kill a lot more cats that way. Cats like really busy sounds, and so the busier the better. That baby cottontail, that baby raspy cottontail is a really good sound. But we call a lot of cats, hunting, trying to call coyotes too, and constant sounds. I tell a guy, man, never turn that call off. With coyotes, or especially cats, you don't have to worry so much about your scent. With cats have a pretty good sense of smell, but they have a really poor brain. So, they have really, really good eyesight. They depend more on their eyesight than anything. So if you're wanting to call cats, man, you really get tucked in there. Do not move. They will nail you. And at night, you get by a lot more. But I always try to give, if I'm calling cats, a good tip on cats, I try to give them some cover to use to stalk toward the call. If you try to force a cat way out in the open, now at night it's not so much, but in the daytime, especially if you're trying to call cats, you got to give them some cover to come to you. And like, back to what you said, Hans, do you call a lot? East Texas, where we're at here, where there's way more cats than what people realize. And I honestly believe we probably don't see 30% of the cats we call in. Because, we probably walk out there and pick up the call and assume nothing ever came. And the cat's sitting there just watching you do it. He slipped up there. I've got some incredible footage of cats. If we weren't just really trying to get footage, we would have never seen. So, I tell guys, if there's cats where you're calling, when you break the stand 15 minutes and you think, well, nothing came, assume a cat is there. Always assume that. Stand up, look around, and then when you walk out toward your call, take your rifle with you, because there may be a cat just tucked down behind a tree. There's somebody there, and they'll just, instead of running off, a lot of times they'll just sit down and kind of tuck behind a tree and wait on you to pick up your call and walk off. So take your gun and really be looking around, because a lot of times those cats are there. And I've got some really good footage to support that. So we kill a lot of cats.
Well, Byron, I see, again, this is just like the first time we had you on the podcast. I had a bunch of questions scribbled down, and we got to about half of them, and I think we've done it again. You've given us a lot of super information, and but I do. There's everything you say leads me to another question, and I think that. Not only Hans and I are benefiting from this, but hopefully our listeners. And I know that you're going to agree with this. It doesn't matter how long you've done it. You're always learning. And
sure.
I know you are. And, it's one of those things where if there was a perfect formula and all you had to do was A plus B and that equaled C, there wouldn't be any coyotes or cats or anything left. We'd just go shoot them all tonight. But I appreciate all your years of knowledge of you sharing this and helping all of us try to do a little bit better.
Well, I thank y'all for the opportunity, and I tell you this, don't overthink this. It's not rocket science. Have fun, enjoy it, have realistic expectations. We make stands, for 4, 5, 10 stands sometimes, not see anything, and you get to, question what you're doing. If you know you're doing the basics and doing them right, success is going to come. Just don't get frustrated. All you can do is ask them to
come,
and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
So
Go ahead.
Byron, where can they find you and your products, the Convergent, Bullet HP, and the Sidewinder, and all that?
Our website is convergenthunting.com. Our telephone number is 903-636-4222, and we're all hunters here. My wife even answers the phone quite a bit, and she's probably more accomplished than most men that I know. She some guys will call and oh, it's a woman. What does she know about hunting? I can assure you, you will be well served with her knowledge. She has filmed me shooting a bunch and killed plenty of her own in her own right. But coming to our convergenthunting.com, and like I said, our phone number is 903-636-4222. And if you see us at a show, we love to share, what we know, and I'm glad to do it.
Well, and also, folks, a shameless plug, but Outdoor Legacy, we're a dealer for these Convergent calls. So if you're looking for one, you feel free to check us out. We've got all the Convergent electronic callers in stock. Hans and I use them both personally, and we love them. They're great calls. And we can't say enough good things about them.
Shameless plug, I'll tell you this. When we started building this call, what we did, we didn't build this for sporting goods stores. We built it for hunters. And I've been doing this for a lot of years. The sound quality is something that we excel at, and it comes from the battery power. Our calls all use a lithium-ion battery that puts out over twice what the competitors does. And what that does, it gives us the ability to use a lot better speakers, and which really makes a difference. When you're calling predators, especially pressured predators, if they're coming to a tinny sounding call, you're not going to call as many. Sound quality matters, and it comes from power and the quality of the sound. So I've recorded sounds for a lot of years. I mean, it's a good sound product, something that I'm proud to say we put a lot of work in, and I don't believe we have anybody that can touch us as far as sound quality, and we have a lifetime warranty. Again, you guys have seen the quality of the sounds and how well they work, and it does make a difference.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to speak to that quickly and just say that you can go and you can download these Convergent apps. You can download for free and get some of the calls. You can pay and get all the calls. And a lot of people I know, since becoming a dealer, people call and say, all right, I downloaded these things, but you tell me, is it really worth me going and buying this speakers? And the answer is yes. I can tell you, I've got some really nice, and I don't want to get too long here into this, but I think this is important because we get this a lot of people asking this. And one time I was looking for a really good Bluetooth speaker. I was going to use it in my shop, and I don't like these cheap little tinny sounds like you talked about. And, my shop's big, and so I want something good. I spent hours, way too much time on Amazon, and I bought several really nice, not cheap Bluetooth speakers, and some of them sounded okay, some didn't. I can tell you right now, you put one of those things on and you walk out there in the field and turn it on and listen, and then you go over there and put it on something like the Bullet, and it is totally different. I'm telling you, it is worth getting this call. And
I'm glad you said that. We have guys do that all the time, and they think, well, then we'll take the cheap route, and that's fine. Guy, not everybody can spend $300 on a call, but the thing about it is it worth it? The answer is yes, because of the quality of the sound. If we could sell them for $100, we would, but there's $300 worth. It's you get your money's worth with the call. Another thing, it is built for the outdoors. It's very rugged. We also have we went to a lifetime warranty because of the return rate on these things. They're built like a tank. If you have a problem with it, we'll replace it. It's not a problem. But it's also got a decoy on it, which your other Bluetooth speakers doesn't. So that's not something we added to it. It was built into the design. You're never going to have to buy batteries for our units. They come, it's built-in battery. It's purpose built, for calling. Sound quality, all the features. For instance, like standard Bluetooth works to 30 feet. Ours works to 300 feet. So I mean, yeah, is it worth it? Yeah, if you can afford it, I guarantee you, if you want to call some coyotes, there's not a better sounding call on the market.
Well, I agree, and I'll say this to speaking to our customers before we close. $300 is a lot of money, no doubt, and I don't want to dismiss the Sidewinder, which is much more affordable and smaller. I mean, that's a whole nother. You've got that option for the guy that doesn't want to spend $3. But the one thing I will say is that you go out there and you've got your rifle, and you may have a $499 AR, or you may have a $2,000 AR, but you got an AR, you got a bolt gun, you've got your ammo. It's not cheap. You've got one night a week to hunt. Maybe it's once a month. You're going out to the leash. You're doing whatever. You've spent all this time, money. You've bought a night vision scope or a thermal scope. It's kind of like, now's not the time to skimp. I mean, that coyote doesn't care which rifle. He doesn't care what ammo. He doesn't care how good your thermal scope is, all those things, but he's going to hear that sound, and he's going to make a decision whether to come or not. And, like you just said, you've got 10 or 15 minutes at most on a set. You better make it count. So to me, that's not the time to skimp.
That's right. And you mentioned the Sidewinder. The Sidewinder's so new, I forget to even mention it sometimes. But, I mean, the sound quality. Guys look at that little bit call and they thought, well, what kind of sound quality can you get out of that? You can use this little call for a tailgate party. It is unbelievable. Yes. I mean, it's over 100 decibels. And it all goes back to the power. It's that higher powered battery. And with our quality of speakers and the power that we put to them, a lot of these lesser calls and some of these high dollar calls, the higher you turn them, the worse they sound. The distortion and stuff. Ours, we don't lose any sound quality as you go up in the volume. And the Sidewinder for a guy that's hunting at night, it's just it attaches right to your rifle, so it's handy. And you better have your riding breeches on when you turn it on, because they're coming to you.
That's right. And on that Sidewinder, if you don't want to attach it to your rifle, you don't have to. There's other ways to use it. You can try it to your tripod or whatever, right. but absolutely. Well, folks, we are out of time. Just like we were last time, ran along talking to Byron because there's so much, a wealth of knowledge and years of experience. We hope you've enjoyed these interviews and maybe learned a little bit of something. I know Hans and I have. We appreciate Byron. He is a friend of the show, and we appreciate his friendship and all he does for this industry. We want to thank him for coming out, and he told y'all where to find him. So if y'all have any questions, definitely go check out Convergent Hunting Solutions and check out both the Sidewinder and the Bullet Collar. For the Late Night Vision Show, Hans and I both want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for coming back every week. And we will be here again next week with another episode. So we will see y'all then.